Hi, and I'd like to welcome Namrah Ahmad today, who's the founder of WR Master Legal. Welcome to Business Spotlights, Namrah.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me. I have to say that I'm pretty nervous, but you will see how it goes.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. I'll be gentle with you. So I guess that the clue might be in the title of your business name there. Tell us a bit about what you do.
So obviously, yeah, like you said, it's definitely the clue is just there. So it's definitely on the legal side of things. And what I do is tend to go, if you kind of dive down into the legal, there's so many different sectors, so many different departments. In a nutshell, what I do is the civil side of things. So wills, power of attorneys, probate, trust, etc., all those kind of things people may find boring. I'll describe it like that. People may find it boring, but I definitely enjoyed it when I did study it, and I felt like it was one of the things that I felt like, even though they were boring, I was really, really good at, and I could definitely see myself, talk. It involves a lot of talking with people, and I am a talkable and sociable person, so I thought, why not go on this side of things?
So you don't find them boring, but you think other people might. Is that fair?
Yeah, I have to. Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you just any law students, if you just put them down in a room, okay, I will tell you, out of 10, about 8 of them will say that the most boring part is the probate side of things. Is just a common thing. People think that the criminal side of things is more interesting, and don't get me wrong, it is interesting. However, with the civil side of things, you do tend to see that there's different scenarios all the time, and there's a lot of problem solving in this side of things, in law in general. But on this side, you're dealing with people, you're dealing with businesses, you're dealing with trust. So I like to get into the really nitty gritty aspect of things.
Right. Okay. And so break it down a bit for us then, because clearly, I think most of us will understand what a will is and why it's important. No, I think loads of people still don't have one, in my experience. I don't know if you share that experience.
I do. So a lot of people feel like, I mean, and don't get me wrong, it's one of those things that you don't actually think about it, until you really need to, you're put in a position, in circumstances where you actually need to think about it. But I think definitely, even I'm 26, and for me, yeah, I'm in good condition, good health condition, touch wood. But I mean, you never know what tomorrow holds, and you just want to make sure that everything's secure. So especially if you're someone that's got businesses, you've got properties, and if you've got a lot of assets, it just helps to make sure that you have a kind of dedicated even piece of paper that tells you what needs to happen once this will is in place. Because at the end of the day, that piece of paper, although small it may be, it holds a lot of power, when you're gone.
Yeah.
So don't want it, all up and about, just there, people going through, people that feel like they're entitled to it, and it going to court, going through years and years of court battle. Some cases like that, they'll go on for years, like 7-10 years in a court battle. At that point, you're just really exhausted. I mean, at that point, you're really like, what's the point?
Yeah, and you're having to deal with that on top of beef, so it's not what you want,
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah.
So other products you said there, people might not be so familiar with, so things like trusts, what's that all about? Why would you need a trust, or why might you want a trust?
So describing trust to someone who's not really in the legal industry, it can be confusing, because at the end of the day, they'll say, what is the point of a trust? And the most basic way I can actually tell you what the trust is it's like a safety deposit, that, or like a safe that no one has access to until they're a certain age. So you have, and people say that it's similar to a bond. No, bonds are completely different. And in simple terms, it's basically a safety deposit, okay? And you've basically set aside someone that's managing that safety deposit on your behalf until they reach a certain age, or until you've said that they reach a certain age. So for example, I wanted to decide that I have younger sisters, and I want to, I don't want I want to make sure that they have a good life, and I want to make sure there's enough in there for them. But I do know that, wills have restrictions, so they might not get, everything that I want them to have. So what I would do is probably create a trust. And that means that the trust is not really subject to a lot of legal requirements in the UK. and I say UK, I will definitely say Scotland, because there are minor differences between Scottish and English law. Our trust has more basically leeway than a will would do, because it's fair enough if you have a will in Scottish law, that's fine, it's great. But then there are certain things that you cannot, even if you've written in your will, a court can then override it because of statute law. So that comes in. Whereas in a trust, there's more leeway, there's trustees present, and the role is mainly of the trustees to decide what goes on rather than the court. So if you want to make sure something's safe and no one else has access to it to a certain age, I would say incorporating a trust into a will is, beneficial.
So the trust can be incorporated into the will, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. And what other products did you mention there that you do?
So it's estate planning, and what this involves in is if you've got a lot of so it's consultation and discussions with people who have, for example, someone reaches out to me and says, well, I've got a few businesses here, but I don't want my business to be incorporated into a will. And so I would give it's advice about estate planning. So they would say, because if something happens to me, I know that all my assets will be divided equally amongst people, right?
Yeah.
But they say they don't want that, because, for example, you may have a business partner who's put in, blood, sweat, and tears with you, but obviously your family members haven't, and you don't want that business member to be deprived of anything. So how would you manage going around that? If something happens to me, then my personal assets will be divided to my family, and then my business assets will be divided to my a partner. So how would you go around that? Is consultation in those kind of areas around property, business, and what the legal route that you can take to make sure everything stays safe.
Right. Okay. And are they quite proactive in coming to you for this advice, or is it something that you need to help educate people about, do you think?
People do say that it seems pretty straightforward, I could probably do it myself. And I mean, in theory, a will can literally be just, you can just sit at home, write on a piece of paper that, I want this and this to go to this person, I want this, and that will be legally treated as a will. That's fine if you do that. However, then it's best to have a professional do it, because even though it's clearly valid in Scottish law, hands down, I would say that there may be loopholes or scenarios that another person can exploit, which can open a whole can of worms, and then that starts your court journey back and forth, and you don't want that. So yes, it's very valid to write a contract or write a will for yourself at home, and that can be classed as, there we go, that's sufficient. However, have you considered everything? Have you considered every loophole? Because think about how many people would be involved, and have you kept in mind the relationships? Because you have to think about the relationships with that someone that's writing a will has with other people. They may not have a great relationship with their partner, right? And they decide that, oh, I don't want to leave anything to my partner, I just wanted to go to my kids.
Yeah.
Where it comes here is that even though they've written that in their will, and that is classified as a legal document, the court will rule that it will rule under statute, and they'll say, well, it's kind of contradicting here. So what we're going to do, we're just going to go with under the court rule and the Scottish law, which is that your partner does usually get half of everything.
Right.
So in that case, we would explain that you would need to have, obviously someone that's writing a will has no knowledge, wouldn't know that, at the end of the day, the court's going to overrule that.
Yeah.
If someone tells you, I would be able to explain to them, like, this will happen. And for you to completely exclude your partner, you would need to provide a very good reason with evidence to show why. And then that at the moment, and that would even then, it's not really guaranteed that they would exclude your partner. At the best, judge's discretion to discredit your partner or not. So it's really, little things like that can, cause a big problem. And so it's best to consult someone, a professional, to actually, or even a professional, write it up for you. And best to give your instructions and basically tell your client, tell you, obviously, your professional, what instruction, every single instruction bit by bit, and then based on that, they can go ahead and prepare a will for you so that nothing is missed out.
Okay, good advice. And so wills, trusts, and estate planning, is that the main things you do?
But I do plan on going into real estate at some point. But right now, because it's relatively small, I'm focusing on these, because when you actually dive deeper into these side of things, there'll be a lot of things that people will need help with. So for example, you may start out with just a will,
Yeah.
but then end up turning into a trust, power of attorney, and a whole load of extra things. And then they start adding more businesses on, and they have start adding more properties on. And then that itself, because we're a small team right now, it'll be mainly us doing these services, and then hopefully looking to expand further on in the future, and when we have more people on board. But right now, these are the main areas of focus.
Yeah. So before we go on to talk about your business expansion, let's just touch on power of attorney, because a lot of people think that power of attorney is something that old people get, but actually everyone should have power of attorney, shouldn't they?
Yeah, definitely, you're correct there, actually. Now, again, when I'm explaining to someone, I really my best way to explain it to someone is because I've always been taught that never to use legal jargon, because a lot of people aren't going to understand what you're saying. See, other
Yeah.
professionals will, but if you're explaining to someone in a conversation, how would you explain that they can understand what they're working with? I mean, at the end of the day, a power of attorney, I would say, is just like a mandate. It's a mandate for someone else to act on your behalf. So when
Yeah.
you're obviously opening a bank account, when you're doing anything at all, even when you're taking your case to a solicitor, they'll require you to sign a mandate, which basically gives them the authority, which basically gives you is you giving them authority to act on your behalf and to deal with and liaise with other. That's what you do when you're instructing a solicitor.
Mm.
So basically, I would say to someone that if anything ever goes south, or not, sometimes anyone can have bad days. It's not necessarily for old people and for the elderly, and people think that, oh, it is, but it's not really. It's something that, as a backup, that someone that someone that you trust will make the right decisions on your behalf. So say, for example, you have a life insurance policy, and ideally you would want the life insurance policy to be paid out into a certain someone's bank account.
Yeah.
Not your and then you want to make sure that if at that point that you are not in the capacity, either in the physical or mental capacity to do so, that someone that you trust, that has the power of attorney, will make the right decision for you. And at the end of the day, what you're looking at is, when you're thinking of getting a power of attorney, the main question in your head should be, will this person act in my best interest, or will they act in their own interest?
Yeah.
And if you are doubtful at any way at all, if the answer isn't clear in your head straight away, then you have your answer there. That's not the
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, you got the wrong person. Okay. No, more good advice, more good stuff to think about. So I know you're an ambitious young woman. So what are the plans for your business practice? What are you hoping to achieve in the next, say, 5 years?
So 5 years, yes, is a very long time. And as I know, I did say at the beginning of our conversation that I'm quite an organized person. So I have like everything pinned down to the T, more or less. So long-term goal is definitely to become a judge, and I do hope, and I am in the right direction. So I do hope, that in the long term that is achievable. But halfway through my in the next 5 years, what I am looking to expand in England. So right now I'm based in Scotland, and it's purely online, because of the team that I have, which is small, and the services are relatively small. But I would like to have at least one physical base in Scotland, and then a physical base in England as well.
Yep.
And ideally, it would be incorporating real estate as a main part of it. So I would definitely want to get into that side of things. And I think with the real estate side of things, that real estate itself is such a big area that for a firm, and for that, a lot of income, you see a lot of firms that are not only lawyers, they're estate agents as well. So there's I don't know if you've heard of McEwen Fraser and Legal.
Yep.
They're one of the well-known ones, and they're great at what they do, and they're open 24/7, which it's not really common to hear that a law firm is open 24/7. And what they are is they have a large team, and they're estate agents, they're lawyers, they do everything, they sell houses, etc. So they really do everything. And I definitely say, if someone asked me, how would you say that you would want to expand, I would definitely say I would want to expand in the direction of McEwen Fraser Legal has. They are my inspiration, and I think I've definitely spoken to a few people from there, and everyone is so lovely. Everyone enjoys what they do, and they don't treat it as work. They treat it as something that they actually enjoy. So there's not one person that you speak to who says that, I can't wait to get home. They
Yeah.
actually love where they are. They love doing what they are. And there's also, it's just one of the firms that make you feel like a family. It's really everyone knows everyone there, even though it's so big and you don't expect people.
Yeah.
Is definitely my long-term goal. So have at least a base in Glasgow, have a base in England, and definitely the fourth service would be real estate.
Okay. And what challenges have you encountered up to this point, or what challenges do you see in the future for yourself?
So definitely I would have to say that, and I have to say I do have friends that are experts in this, but it would be the marketing side of things. So if you see my personal profile on, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, my personal profile, yeah, I can be great at marketing there. I would say that I'm pretty good at posting and, when it comes to myself. But the one hassle is, or the one thing there that I'm just not, because it's my first time, is how do I put a business out there? How do I advertise my business? That's not something. How do I go ahead and do that? So I've just, although I've got accounts and I have, tried my best, you can definitely see from my page that I am trying, but I'm no expert. So in terms of commercial advertising and personal advertising, everyone can do, because you know better than who else knows you better than yourself.
Yeah.
But the commercial advertising isn't really for yourself, it's for the business that you have created, basically another entity that you have created. So it's like they say that when you treat a private in law, you're treating a private limited company as a completely separate person and entity. So
Yeah.
you're in charge of managing another person and selling them. So how do you go ahead and do that? That is quite challenging. And don't get me wrong, I have done marketing alongside legal in the past in one of my roles, and that has helped me understand the various platforms and softwares that I can use to actually put my business out there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm not an expert. And so I definitely would say that in terms of advertising, because I do, if I'm going to be opening up in England, I need the advertising game to be 100% on point, because I'm not necessarily going to be driving into England to advertise door to door. So
No. Yeah.
relying on word of mouth and just people communicating here and there on social media, that is going to be my main relying point. So that is the biggest hurdle right now.
And so just as we draw to a close then, what you seem like a very driven person. What's your inspiration?
And that's a really question, and I don't think we'd have a lot of time for this, but I'll make it short and sweet, which apparently I'm quite short as well. So there we go. So I would definitely say, and it's going to sound like such a cliche answer, but I would definitely say my parents, and the reason is because my parents have always provided everything for me, and like I'll tell you that the latest phone will come out, and before the word even comes out, like, mom, dad, this phone it came out, before that, before I even finish the sentence, I'll have that brand new phone in my hand.
Oh, really?
So my parents have always been it's not that it's not, and people say that people make jokes that, oh, Namrah, you're quite privileged, etc. So, but I recognize my privilege, that yes, my parents did do a lot of things for me, but at the end of the day, I recognize that privilege, and I wanted to do something, and I want to do something for them. I want to do something for myself, because my parents have always said that we've always obviously wanted you to excel, and the one thing that my parents have always asked is to become independent, that you never have to rely on anyone else.
Yes.
So, and they said that they fulfill my, it's not necessarily demands, but it's they make sure that I get everything in life, so that I know that there's a bar, there's a standard, and I should never see myself below that standard. And so the standard is education, build yourself, and at the end of the day, you're not relying on anyone but yourself. So if you want something, say you see like a designer bag or anything, you don't need to wait. You don't need to rely on someone to get that. You can get it yourself, because you're independent.
I like it. It seems to be working so far, hasn't it, Namrah?
Yeah, so yeah, definitely they have been my big inspiration. I for them, they were always like education, 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 and literally that's the one thing they've always asked. So they don't ask anything. Well, they never asked anything of me, but that one thing, which is just make sure you focus on your education, and you do the best that you can out there, because the world is tough. At the end of the day, you have to put that experience, you have to put in that knowledge, and someone else might have the same one as you. So what exactly makes you different? How can you stand out?
Mm. Well, you're doing really well for your age to be having your own business, got really big, ambitious plans for expansion, and to be a judge at the end of the day. So good luck, and we wish you well and every success in the next few weeks and months.
Thank you so much. And thank you once again for reaching out, and for thinking I was actually worthy of your platform. It really means a lot to me. And one day when I do become a judge, come back to you and let you know how that's going.
Do that. Okay. Thanks, Namrah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.